campers, George here, back in the man cave again. In Minnesota today, a little tough to be outside, really hot, muggy, very uncomfortable. I had plans to go fishing, but I put that off. It was just too much to be outside. They had warnings and everything about the heat and to be careful out there, so I thought I was going to take my kayak out and go and hit cedar, and of course that didn't work out. It's just too uncomfortable. So stuck indoors means I need to look at some stuff, and I had been to Gander Outdoors with a friend of mine, Travis, and he wanted to go. He gave me a call, said let's go up to Gander. I need to pick up some fishing line and a couple of other things. He needed some stuff for his kayak, for his anchor and that sort of thing. So we went up to Gander, and while I was there we were walking around looking at stuff, and I came across this guy. Yep, the Gerber Freehander, and this is part of the Gerber line management series and their fishing accessories, where they've really upped the game on what they can offer to a fisherman out there. In fact, I did a review of one of the other products a couple of weeks ago, and I'll put the link up here, and at the end of the video you can also click on a link back there if you want. And that's the Gerber line management tool, which really impressed me, although it didn't do a lot for me because I just fly fish. I love to fly fish. I'm terrible at it, but I persist. And the only other fishing I do is ice fishing. And although that would work really well in ice fishing, I don't do enough of it. I'm out on the water more during the summer, the fall, fly fishing. And I felt that tool, although a great tool for the regular fishing people out there, ice fishermen, bass fishermen, that sort of thing, it was really well made. And it impressed me, although I couldn't use it. When I saw this at Gander, I thought, you know, I need to have a look at this, because it got my attention, and I thought this would suit fly fishing. So this is the Gerber Freehander line management tool. You can see it here. It's basically a really fancy clipper, and it comes mounted on the board like they do with all the other products. The information on the back, very simple, nice, compact, and it gives you all the information you need. The thing that surprised me at Gander, and I've looked at the prices because I did look into this before, right after I did the line management tool, and I was shocked at how much it cost. And what I found is, you know, my favorite place to go look for pricing, which gives me a pretty good indicator, is Amazon. And you can go on there and search a product, and you'll get a wide range of pricing. The pricing that I came across here ranged from anything from about $26 up to as much as $50 for this. At Gander, when I purchased this, and the reason I purchased it, it cost me $26.41 plus tax. It's hard for me to buy them because simply I'm on a budget, just like everybody else, except my budget's a little bit tighter than most, so I try to keep my costs down. But I was so impressed with Gerber, I thought I'd get this. So while I was here looking at it, I thought, you know what, why don't I share it with you, and we'll have a look at it together and see just what it can do. Is it worth the money? So let's have a closer look at it, and you can see what you think. Before we get started, let me get it off here, but I just want to show you this. And obviously the Gerber logo, the Freehander line management tool, and it has these symbols here, which I believe are international symbols. They have it on all their products. Limited lifetime warranty, we'll look into that. And it gives a brief description of the main item that they want to brag about and tell you about. On the back, it gives you a description of the actual product and all the gizmos on it, and, you know, all the information you're going to need, including up here, which I thought was interesting. This is an additional sticker on the back here, and it talks about, for optimal performance, how to maintain the... There we go. It's just held on with two little black cable ties, is what I call them. So here you can see it, and there it is in my hand. Basically what it is, for me, is a snipper with extras. So let's have a closer look at it and see what they offer. The Freehander does have a lot of options with it. Obviously not just the different options on here, but it's the way it was designed is that it has interchangeable parts, and you can get an interchangeable parts package from them. And I would recommend, if you're going to purchase this, to get it, not because I am foreseeing some problems with it, but you never know what's going to happen. When you're out there on the water and you do something silly and you break, maybe you mess up the clippers or the spike, or you break the vice jaws here, that all comes in the interchangeable parts list. So I'd recommend, if you are going to purchase this, think about getting that interchangeable parts list with it. Should be handy enough. And I'll put a picture up right now and the price list, and you can see what comes with it. So you can see in the parts list here, it has the interchangeable clippers, the respike, and the jaws. And that's really all you need to keep this tool going. So let's have a closer look here. And as you can see, it's a lot bigger than the normal clippers. The reason being, it comes with a lot of accessories with it, which is the main feature of the whole thing is that it's not just clippers. So let's see what it offers. So obviously the first thing is the clippers. And if you look here, you can see here the blade for the clippers. And it's pretty wide, about as wide as my finger, which is wider than the normal, and they are deep. Now the reason they have it so deep is that these actual jaws are interchangeable. You can take them out and replace them if something should happen, if they become dull or anything like that. In fact, if you're any good with a sharpening stone, you might be able to just sharpen them up a bit yourself, although I don't recommend it. It does have the replacement kit, which we talked about earlier. You know, I would rather just use their replacement kit than trying to get it sharp enough. I'm just not good enough with the sharpening, so I struggle enough with my knives. That's a nice feature of it, and you can see it's held in by 4 screws, countersunk screws that hold it in. The different color here indicates where the spike, the respike, is in there, and we'll get into that next. And let's see how we clip. Let me get some line to clip here for you, and I have some here. Put it in there and let's give it a clip. No problem there. This is a 10-pound fly line leader, and it's not a little line. It's pretty heavy. Not something I use that much unless I'm going for bass, so it cuts pretty well. Let's see how it does with the actual fly line, should I need to clip my fly line. So it does cut the fly line, although not as easy as the leader or the regular fly line. So it does its job. It'll do what I need it for. The overall base of it is nice and big and gives you a good grip. You can get some good pressure on there. So, you know, snipping it, I'm putting some good pressure in here and it's having no problem. And of course this aluminum paddle is pretty sturdy. So that's the clippers, and don't forget they are interchangeable. So moving on to the spike, and you can see it fairly clearly right now that there is the respike inside the clippers. So if you have a fly or a lure that has paint in the hole where you're going to put your leader in to tie your lure to your leader, you can use the respike to clear it out. Or on your fly, sometimes they leave a little bit of glue in there and you can't get the line through. This will work. Now, the cool thing about it is, if you look in the front here, the spike is towards the right hand side. What you can do is you can take the jaws off, and when you do that, you can see here it has a black screw and 2 black screws here, and one of the screws is silver, and that is the spike. So you can actually move the spike over to this side if it suits you better, which is a nice little feature to have. If you're left-handed, you might want to move the spike, or right-handed, make it easier for you to use. So that's the respike. Looking at here, you can see here there's a hole cut into the part of the vise here, and that hole is actually what they call the tether point. To secure this, it's a tether point for you. They do have their own system, and it looks pretty good. Costs about 20 bucks, and I'm hoping in the near future to be able to get one of them and have a look and see how well they work. I know they have different sizes. They have the regular and the large size, so hopefully we'll get to have a look at that soon. So that's your tether point to attach to, and you can see it's pretty solid. It's made on the side of the vise. It's not going anywhere. So next up, what we're going to have a look at here, and this is the feature that they brag about the most. It obviously is the main feature of this, and that is the supervised tech is what they call it. And that's this thing here. And it swivels around like this. You can put it in any position you want. You might want to put it at the back there. And the idea behind it, and I had to think about this before I figured out what they were talking about, but when you're changing your lure, your hook, or your fly, I have a real problem. I have stubby fingers. When the weather is cold, your fingers get a little numb and you get a little clumsy. And what's going to happen is you're going to drop that line. And what this allows you to do is to be able to, here's my leader. Let's say I'm changing my leader because I've been using it for a while. It's got a little worn, starting to get a little frayed. So by the way, that's something you should do on a regular basis, is always check your leader around your fly, especially if you've been catching a lot of fish or you've been pulling it through some rough stuff on the ground, through the rocks and things like that in the stream or wherever you are. So you check it and it's a little bit rough and you need to change your lure or your fly or whatever for any reason. You know, you land up with a typical clipper where you're having to hold your line and do the tie off and everything like that. I would say a good 6-7 times out of 10, I drop my line. And when you fly fishing, you have line, you know, you have your fly line. It's fairly heavy and it just drops and it falls to the ground. And now you're scrambling around to get it back up there and put your lure in or your fly. What this allows you to do is you can take your line, you're going to cut it off, say this is the frayed end with your lure on it, and you just simply put it on there, pull it in, and it's fixed to it right there. Sorry, I'm having a problem seeing what I'm doing here. And you could then whip it around here, cut off your lure or whatever, snip off the excess line on the lure. You haven't, you know, you're not dropping your line, it's right there. You haven't dropped it. You can then just pull it through, tie your line onto it. You're not going to lose your line, and it's going to save you a lot of heartache. A lot of thought went into that, and I thought they did a pretty good job with it, and I really like that idea, especially for somebody like me who struggles. The line, I drop it on there, scrambling around in my kayak or whatever, trying to find where the line dropped, and it's dropped into the water, and I've got to then pull it out of the water and tie it up. So a really nice feature, and they call it the supervised tech. A really nice feature for this, probably the main feature to it, that would outdo any of the other clippers out there. This jaws here, it's kind of like a plastic or a hard rubber. I'm not sure what it's made of. It is interchangeable. If for any reason it wears out from putting the line in and out and things like that, or something happens to it, in the replacement kit they have that in there so you can replace it. So there you have it. You can see the features of it. It's not just a clipper and your re-spike on it. It does have the vise and a really nice tether point. It is certainly well made. It is solid, and of course, you know, the what they call the paddle, this part of the where you hold and push down on, is made of aluminum, and it's coated, and so it's not going to rust or anything. They do say the maintenance required on this, and they recommend doing that, and I would recommend anything you take out with you. You go out on a fishing trip, you spend all day on the water, you're doing whatever, and you get home, it's a good idea just to flush it off, especially if you do any surf fishing or you're in the ocean, salt water, that sort of thing. You want to clean it off, and because it's really corrosive. the salt water. I learnt the hard way on that with some reels. And you flush it off, and then they recommend just a little bit of oil on any moving parts. And I suspect they mean like here and on the pivot joint here, so that it doesn't get bind up because of rust or anything like that. Just like any other tool you would have in your fishing box, you need to maintain it. Obviously get it as long a use as you can out of it. So there you go. A closer look at it. So there it is. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. And I'm pretty sure I'll be back with some other little gizmo you might want to have a look at. Just saying. Thanks for watching.